What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for spending a little time with me today. My name is Brandon Smith. So today's case is the case that I have been obsessed with for over 15 years. The case that if the big man upstairs himself came down and told me that I could have just one unsolved case solved, this is the one that I would choose. I think why it means so much to me is that I can relate to so much of it. At the time that the case took place, much like the person involved, I was also in university, in residence, in a city up north in the middle of winter. Both of our lives at the time were very similar. And considering that you already know the nature of my channel, as you can probably imagine, our lives turned out very differently. But my main takeaway from today's case is that in my life, as in any life, each of us are just one day and one decision away from being lost forever. With that in mind, let's get into it. The day is Monday, February 9th, 2004. The song Hey Ya by rap duo Outkast is #1 on the Billboard charts. The film Barbershop 2 Back in Business, starring Ice Cube and Cedric the Entertainer, is #1 at the box office. And just 5 days ago, Mark Zuckerberg launches the Facebook, a social networking website at Harvard University. Less than 150 kilometers to the east at another university in Massachusetts, 21-year-old nursing student Maura Murray guides her Saturn through the University of Massachusetts Amherst campus. After leaving the university grounds, she aims her vehicle due north, and less than 3 hours later, she finds herself a state away in Haverhill, New Hampshire. Along the snowy winding path of Route 112, Maura crashes her car. A passing bus driver comes across Maura and her derailed vehicle and asks her if she needs help. She thanks him, but says assistance is already on the way. The man leaves the scene, and despite the young woman's insurance, the Good Samaritan calls the police anyway. Just 9 minutes later, the summoned authorities arrive, and Maura Murray is gone. This day in mystery. Monday, February 9th, 2004, in Amherst, Massachusetts, is a typical winter day in the state. With a daytime high of just 2 degrees, freshly plowed snow already lines the streets of the quaint university town, and the threat of more precipitation still hangs heavy in the air. 21-year-old Maura Murray is the 4th child of Frederick and Lori. When she was 6 years old, her parents divorced. After their separation, Maura lived primarily with her mother. She graduated from Whitman-Hanson Regional High School, where she was a star athlete on the school's track team. After high school, she was accepted into the United States Military Academy in New York State, where she studied chemical engineering. After her freshman year, she transferred to the University of Massachusetts Amherst to study nursing. However, it is not all academics and athletics for the scholastic freshwoman. Maura has been in a relationship with a man she met at the military academy, a man named Bill Rausch. In 2004, Bill is a lieutenant in the Army and is stationed at Fort Sill in Oklahoma. Today, spring semester is well underway, but classes have been canceled for the day due to the ongoing snowstorm. The campus is still bustling with kinetic energy, but it escapes around her as Maura heads for her 1996 Saturn sedan parked in the university lot. Maura Murray has had a very eventful week. On Thursday, February 5th, while on duty at her campus security job, Maura receives a phone call from her older sister Kathleen. The elder Murray has just been discharged from a rehabilitation clinic, and on her way home from the facility, her fiancé took her to a liquor store. Her sister's confession rattles her enormously, and at 10:30 p.m., while still on the clock, Maura breaks down in tears. When her supervisor comes across the disconsolate Murray, she sees her employee is zoned out and unresponsive. As such, the boss woman escorts Murray back to her dorm room at 1:20 a.m. on the morning of February 6. Maura spends the rest of that Friday alone in her dorm room, a brief respite from the imploding chaos of her life. On Saturday, February 7th, Murray's father, Fred, arrives in Amherst for a visit. The two go car shopping and later pick up a friend of Maura's from campus, and the three attend a local brew pub for drinks and dinner. Maura and her classmate drop her father off at his hotel room, and with Fred's permission, they borrow his Toyota Corolla. At 10:30 p.m., they return to campus and attend a dorm party at the university. At 2:30 a.m. on Sunday, February 8th, Maura leaves the party. At 3:30 a.m., driving her father's borrowed vehicle en route to his hotel room, she strikes a guardrail in Hadley, Massachusetts. The accident is severe and causes nearly $10,000 worth of damage to her father's vehicle. The car is undrivable, but miraculously, Maura escapes relatively unscathed. A police officer responds to the scene, and after taking a report, he drives Maura back to her father's motel. Her father is given the bad news, and the two spend the rest of the morning together in the hotel room. At 8:25 a.m., Fred Murray calls his insurance company and learns that the damage to his vehicle will be covered. He rents a car, and before returning to Connecticut for work, he drops his daughter off at the University of Massachusetts at exactly 10:13 a.m. At 11:30 p.m. that evening, now back in the Constitution State, Fred calls Maura and reminds her to obtain the accident forms from the Registry of Motor Vehicles the following day. On the morning of February 9th, for reasons known only to her, Maura begins to pack up her dorm room in its entirety. She collects her belongings and places them into boxes in the middle of the room. She removes all of the posters and artwork from the collegiate walls and stacks them alongside the packed parcels. On top of the boxes, she places a printed email addressed to Billy. The email to her boyfriend outlines their problems and indicates trouble in their relationship. At 3:44 a.m., Murray uses her personal computer to search MapQuest for directions to the Berkshires and Burlington, Vermont. In the afternoon, at 1 p.m., she emails Billy in Oklahoma. The email reads, "I love you more, stud. I got your messages, but honestly, I didn't feel like talking to much of anyone. I promised to call today though. Love you, Maura." At 1:07 p.m., she calls a condominium complex in Bartlett, New Hampshire, a location her family had vacationed to in the past, and inquires about renting one of the units. The owner does not rent the condo to Murray. The flurry of communication continues, and at 1:24 p.m., Murray emails a nursing school faculty supervisor and informs them that she would be out of town for a week due to a death in her family. This is a lie, as in reality, no one in her family has died. She concludes the email by telling them that she would contact them directly when she had returned. At 2:05 p.m., Murray calls a toll-free number in Stowe, Vermont, that provides recorded information about hotel accommodations. At 2:18 p.m., she telephones her boyfriend. He does not answer, and Maura leaves a message promising him that they would talk later. Maura packs a backpack containing clothing, toiletries, college textbooks, and birth control pills. At 3:30 p.m., she drives off campus in her black sedan. At 3:40 p.m., closed-circuit television shows Murray withdrawing $280 from an ATM, a transaction that virtually wipes out this account's holdings. Murray then uses $40 of the freshly withdrawn $280 and purchases Bailey's Irish Cream, Kahlua, vodka, and a box of Franzia wine at 3:50 p.m. 20 minutes later, at 4:10 p.m., she picks up the accident report forms from the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles. At 4:30 p.m., she heads north on Interstate 91. In the car, she uses her cell phone to access her voicemail at precisely 4:37 p.m. before powering off the phone. At 7:25 p.m., a woman in Haverhill, New Hampshire, hears a loud thump outside of her house. She makes her way from her living room to her kitchen in an attempt to discover the origin of the noise. Through her window, she sees Maura's Saturn wedged against a snowbank on the nearby Route 112 thoroughfare. At 7:27 p.m., she telephones the Grafton County Sheriff's Department to report the accident. At 7:37 p.m., from her kitchen vantage point, the woman sees another neighbor enter the fray. The neighbor, a school bus driver, parks his vehicle adjacent the wreck. He sees Maura Murray. She is not bleeding or visibly injured, but she looks cold and is shivering. He asks Maura if she is okay. She says that she is. He offers to return home and telephone for help. She declines the offer and assures him that AAA is on their way. With the woman content in her crisis, the bus driver gets back in his vehicle and continues on home. With the stranded motorist disappearing in his rearview mirror, he reconsiders the exchange. He realizes there is no cell phone reception in that area, so the woman could not have called for help. Not sure what to make of the bizarre encounter, he calls the sheriff's department at 7:43 p.m. just to be safe. As a result of his neighbor's prior call, dispatch tells the man that first responders are already en route. At 7:46 p.m., a Haverhill police officer arrives on the scene. He finds the damaged car, but no one inside of it or around it. In the span of just 9 minutes, Maura Murray has disappeared. The police officer determines that the car had impacted a tree on the driver's side of the vehicle, severely damaging the left headlight and pushing the car's radiator into the fan, rendering it inoperable. The car is locked, but he is able to see that the windshield is cracked on the driver's side and both airbags have deployed. Both inside and outside of the car, he sees red stains consistent with red wine. He requests backup and more officials arrive on the scene. AAA also arrives and confirms for police what the school bus driver already believed. No one placed a call to them from this location. Police gain access to Maura's vehicle. Inside, they find an empty beer bottle and a damaged box of wine on the rear seat. They also find a AAA card issued to Murray, blank accident report forms, gloves, compact discs, makeup, diamond jewelry, driving directions to Burlington, Vermont, a stuffed animal, and the book Not Without Peril, a novel about mountain climbing in the White Mountains. The bus driver comes back to the scene of the car accident and tells police that he had spoke with a woman there earlier that night. The bus driver, along with the original responding officer, take it upon themselves to search the dark country roads for any sign of the missing woman. The two find no trace of Maura Murray. Emergency medical services and a fire truck arrive to clear the scene. The car is towed to a local garage where mechanics make a curious discovery. A rag believed to have been part of Murray's emergency roadside kit is discovered stuffed into the muffler. Police trace the car back to Fred Murray, the registered owner of the vehicle, and determine that his daughter, Maura Murray, was the woman who crashed the car. As such, on February 10th, a be on the lookout is issued for the 21-year-old nursing student. Police leave a voicemail on Fred Murray's home answering machine, but he is still in Connecticut for work and does not receive this call. Maura's eldest sister, Julie Murray, receives the message and contacts her father to inform him of the developing situation. Fred contacts the Haverhill Police Department, where he is told that if Murray is not found by the following morning, the New Hampshire Fish and Game Department would start a search. On February 11th, Fred Murray arrives in Haverhill before dawn. And as the sun comes up, New Hampshire Fish and Game, the Murrays, and other volunteers begin their search. A police dog tracks Maura's scent 100 yards east from where the vehicle had been discovered, but loses the scent there. This suggests to police that she had left the area in another vehicle. Later in the day, Murray's boyfriend Billy Rausch and his parents arrive in Haverhill and join in on the search. On the evening news, police say they believe that Maura came to the area either to run away or attempt suicide. Her family disagrees and finds this very unlikely. And the following day, they hold a press conference along with Billy Rausch, where they announce that they believe that Maura was on her way to Vermont and was abducted sometime after the crash. Although missing persons cases are almost always handled by local and state police, the Federal Bureau of Investigation shows interest in the case. And 10 days after the disappearance of Maura Murray, the FBI joins in on the investigation. They expand the search into Vermont and interview anyone even loosely connected to Maura. New Hampshire investigators and the FBI turn up nothing in their exhaustive interviews, and the search yields no clues as to Maura's whereabouts. On March 2nd, exhausted from their search efforts, Billy Rausch and the Murray family check out of their hotel, the Endeavor's de facto headquarters, and return home, with Maura Murray still unaccounted for. With the search at a standstill, investigators begin to delve into the life of Maura Murray and quickly discover that everything wasn't as rosy as once seemed. In high school, Maura had been a star athlete and a prodigious student who was seemingly bound for great things. Thus, when she went to West Point, her family believed it would be the perfect environment to cultivate her ascension into great things. This is not what ended up happening. As a West Point cadet, Maura began drinking a lot. She also wasn't doing well in school and lacked discernible interest in her major. In 2002, Maura was caught stealing from the commissary at Fort Knox. For this crime, she would have been expelled, but Academy officials allowed her to withdraw from the program instead. After dodging expulsion, she enrolled at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. Her problems followed her to the new school. She continued drinking to excess. In November 2003, Maura was caught stealing credit card numbers to order food from several different area restaurants. She was arrested and charged with credit card fraud under $250 and was given probation. Maura's troubles extended to her personal life. Her older sister Kathleen had been in and out of rehab, and as we already know, just 4 days before her disappearance, had called Maura and confessed to a relapse. At the time of her disappearance, her father Fred was also having trouble finding work, and the house he lived in was facing foreclosure. Additionally, things with her boyfriend Billy Rausch were also not good. Maura had learned that while stationed in Oklahoma, Billy had cheated on her. Maura was also having an affair. She was in an untold relationship with one of her track coaches, a man named Hossein Baghdadi. The affair was described as hot and heavy, but the relationship had to be kept secret as its discovery could have compromised either Maura's or Hossein's position on the track team. Finally, Maura had been in 2 major motor vehicle accidents within the span of just 40 hours. In the first accident, the responding officer never conducted a field sobriety test, but Maura's father admitted that she had been drinking beers with him during dinner that night. Additionally, people at the dorm party reported that Maura had been drinking heavily throughout the night and well into the morning. In the second accident, on the night of February 9th, Maura had purchased a good deal of alcohol just 4 hours prior to the crash. And while there is no definitive proof that Maura consumed any of this alcohol and was therefore intoxicated at the time of the crash, officials on the scene attested to the presence of open containers of alcohol in Maura's car, as well as wine stains throughout and outside of the vehicle. Both outside of her control and self-induced, Maura Murray was under an unbelievable amount of stress at the time of her disappearance. The pressure of the stress may have been too much for the young woman to handle. If the pressure was too much for Maura, there may have been another avenue she could have taken other than ending her life. She could have started a new life. This is the theory author and Maura Murray biographer James Renner subscribes to. Renner believes that on the evening of February 9th, Maura was traveling in tandem with a secondarily driven vehicle in a pre-planned, purposeful effort to leave her life behind. When the accident occurred, however, the plan had to be changed on the fly. So at this time, she entered the other vehicle and drove into her new life. Also supporting this theory has been the continuous sightings of Maura Murray, very much alive in the years since her disappearance. In June 2005, a girl with blonde hair resembling Maura was seen at a church in Barton, Vermont. A witness said that the girl said her name was Rachel and took off quickly when the minister started a Father's Day sermon. In June 2006, a girl resembling Maura was seen at a Cumberland Farm store in Hillsborough, New Hampshire, with an older male companion. Alarmingly, in this sighting, the girl was reportedly mouthing the words, "Help me," to onlookers. In contemporary reports, however, most of the sightings place Maura Murray in the town of Sherbrooke, Quebec, Canada. In August 2021, an anonymous emailer contacted James and told him that on the night of February 9th, 2004, a man came up from Boston driving a red SUV and met with Maura after the accident. The two continued on in their journey to Canada. The same man was also instrumental in providing Maura with the initial money that allowed her to start a new life in the new country. The emailer also provides the real motivations behind Maura's desired disappearance. The man contends that on the night of Thursday, February 5th, while on duty as a security guard, Maura hit a man named Petrit Vassi with her vehicle on the UMass campus and fled the scene. This was the real reason Maura was found in tears on the morning of Friday, February 6th. And Maura, fearing prosecution for the hit and run, the email proclaims, was her ultimate motive for absconding, leaving her life in Amherst behind. The accident involving Petrit Vassi was an actual event that occurred on the campus of UMass Amherst that remains unsolved to this day. And when Renner pressed the correspondent for details to prove his identity, he did convey some information that lended credence to his story. However, in trying to get the anonymous person to come forward, Renner pressed the individual. In one final email, this individual said that Maura would never be found and implored Jeremy to give up the search as Maura did not want to be found. Police, James Renner, and Petrit Vassi all believe that Maura Murray had nothing to do with the February 5th hit and run. Fred Murray, the father of Maura Murray, believes that his daughter is no longer alive. He believes that in a terrifying example of bad timing, after the bus driver's intervention, someone with cruel intentions came across his daughter in the New Hampshire night and killed her shortly thereafter. In late 2004, a man gave Fred Murray a rusty, blood-stained knife that he said belonged to his brother. The brother of the man had an extensive criminal past and lived less than a mile from where Maura's car was discovered. The man said it was the knife used to kill Maura. In October 2006, during yet another search for Maura in the closet of a house, cadaver dogs allegedly went bonkers, possibly identifying the presence of human remains. The house had formerly been the residence of the brother of the man who gave Fred the rusty knife years before. Fred Murray obviously believed that his daughter's remains were located somewhere on this property and wanted to conduct additional searches. But the people who had dominion over the property were uncooperative and would not consent to additional searches without a warrant, a document that investigators were unable to ascertain on the strength of just the cadaver dog's conviction alone. In February 2019, however, ownership of the property changed hands, and the new owners were much more sympathetic to Fred Murray's plight. And in early April of 2019, they allowed for the basement to be excavated and several thorough searches of the property to be conducted. This effort yielded absolutely nothing. On March 19, 2004, a 17-year-old woman named Brianna Maitland went missing from Montgomery, Vermont after a late-night car crash. Montgomery, Vermont is just 150 kilometers from Haverhill, New Hampshire. Because of the two cases' geographical proximity, chronological timing, and undeniable similarities, police probed the idea that a serial killer was active in the two states and responsible for both of the disappearances. However, in the Brianna Maitland case, much like in the Maura Murray case, no one could be identified as answerable for making the young woman disappear. If there was a serial killer on the prowl and they were involved in these disappearances, police had no idea who they were. In 2011, a YouTuber named 112 Dirtbag began posting videos on his channel. The videos consisted of nothing but an elderly man laughing into a camera. On the 8th anniversary of Maura's disappearance, the man posted a video entitled Happy Anniversary. In the video, he again laughs maniacally before concluding this time by saying the words Happy Anniversary. The timing was purposeful, and people online yearned to discover what the laughing man was trying to accomplish with these videos and how he was connected to the case. People realized that the YouTube channel name itself was a reference to Maura Murray, with 112 referring to the route where the woman disappeared, and Dirtbags being the name that Fred called the people responsible for Maura's disappearance in the media. Subsequent videos made the connection even more clear. In one video, the man was shown sitting near the location of the crash. In another, stubs from a ski lodge near Haverhill, dated February 11, 2004, were placed in front of the camera. Viewers realized that not only was this man referring to Maura Murray, he was possibly referring to his responsibility in her disappearance. Police quickly identified the man as Alden Olson. They arranged to meet with this man in an effort to determine if he was in fact involved in Maura's disappearance. After meeting with him, they concluded that Olson was nothing more than a mentally ill individual, obsessed with true crime cases, and that he had absolutely no involvement in the disappearance of Maura Murray. All right, so what do I think happened? To begin, I want to start off by saying that the main emotion I have in the case of Maura Murray is compassion. I believe that Maura was struggling. Her school, her family, her relationship, her job, everything was suffering, and for a woman with such unmitigated potential, nothing in her life was going well now. And I think that all of us, to some extent, have been there. We start off in some pursuit and things are going well, but then something happens to jar us from our foundation. And instead of righting the ship, we compound the problem and divert even further from our desired course. For Maura, her situation had gone from bad to worse, and mentally, she wasn't in a position to fix it. Not right now anyways. Ergo, on the afternoon of February 9th, 2004, I believe that Maura wanted to get away. She needed to get away. Away from the chaos of her currency, she could consider her life and figure out a way to fix the issues that were maligning it. In this interest, I believe that Maura and Maura alone leaves the University of Massachusetts in pursuit of a spiritual retreat in the Green Mountain State. She packs some essentials, withdraws some money, and makes the unfortunate decision to purchase some alcohol. This potent potable will do nothing for her clarity, but Maura has a sickness, and the siren call of the alcohol's access to an escape is too much for Maura to turn down. In the Saturn, Maura begins drinking heavily. She drinks to forget about her troubles. She drinks to feel better about her tragedy. She drinks to get through the night. The decision has dire consequences, and on that fateful road in Haverhill, Maura loses control of her vehicle and crashes into a snowbank. She is again thankful that after yet another car accident, she is uninjured. However, the immediate relief leaves her as she remembers that she is also drunk and responsible. She tries to start the car and flee the scene, but the vehicle does not comply mechanically. Maura exits the vehicle to clear her head. Alone in the cold February night, she looks around the nature, totally by herself. A school bus slowly passes her vehicle as she and the driver lock eyes. The big yellow machine slides to a halt just past the Saturn, and a man enters the scene as the bus's metal bifold doors compress. He inquires as to Maura's condition and offers to call AAA for her. Maura realizes that the last thing she needs in this moment is more witnesses, so she declines the offer and tells the man that roadside assistance has already been summoned. Cordially, the man wishes her well and re-enters the mustard chariot. Maura watches as the bus disappears over the horizon and listens to the silence. She is alone again, but for how long? She knows that inevitably more people will come. More people will lead to more questions. Questions that Maura cannot in good faith answer. Dread sweeps over her and she feels an intense desire to leave. Leave this scene, the mess, and be gone. She grabs the backpack from the vehicle and slides the bottle of vodka and Bailey's into its plastic hull. She locks the car doors and backs away from the vehicle. She takes one last look at the car and her instincts kick in. The long-distance track star does what she does best. She runs. She runs far away from the scene of the crash in an effort to distance herself as far away from the mess that has become her life as possible. Her ability and inebriation is her downfall. Her running prowess allows her to get deeper in the New Hampshire woods than anyone could imagine. Her intoxication leaves her in no condition to survive its constituency. And exhausted now, she slides back first down the sturdy base of a thick American elm tree and sinks to the boreal ground. Eventually, the girl with so much potential succumbs to the harsh New England winter elements. Maura Murray's disappearance is often described as the first crime mystery of the social media age. With the social web in its infancy, true crime mystery repositories galvanized into various popular internet sites, and web sleuthers from around the world came together to discuss the case. Fred Murray, Maura's father, often derides the helpfulness of these online detectives. Fred instead believes in his own way of keeping Maura's memory alive. He has been a constant presence in the media and even appeared on programs such as The Montel Williams Show. In March 2021, the tree at the site where Maura was last seen, which had been marked with a blue ribbon as a memorial, was cut down by the property's owner. Fred Murray petitioned the state to have a New Hampshire historical marker placed at the site. The request was denied. On September 14, 2021, New Hampshire State Police announced that bone fragments had been found on Loon Mountain in Lincoln, New Hampshire, an area 40 kilometers east of Maura's last known location. According to her sister, Kathleen, Maura had been to the mountain before and had knowledge of the area. In November of that same year, the remains were conclusively identified as not Maura Murray. A $75,000 reward is being offered in the case. Thank you so much for listening to my personal obsession for the last 17 years, the story of Maura Murray. Please be sure to like and subscribe so that I can continue telling these stories. Also, weigh in on the comments below so that we can keep fostering the engagement that these cases so very much need. Just before I go, please know that you, my friend, are a wonderful individual who is capable of good. If you are struggling right now for any reason, just remember that we are in this together and you are here for a reason. Please be kind to yourself and all those you come in contact with. I'm Brandon Smith, and I'll see you next time.